The Crimson Rot had already consumed 3 star systems when the Galactic Council convened its emergency session. Ambassador Zexathari's crystalline form flickered with distress patterns as she addressed the assembly, her species' natural bioluminescence casting eerie shadows across the council chamber. "The pathogen defies all known medical protocols," she announced, her voice carrying the harmonic undertones that marked her as one of the ethereal collective's finest scientists. "It adapts faster than we can develop countermeasures. The Tukaran Empire has already begun evacuating the Outer Rim territories." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembled delegates. The Vorthak Confederation's representative, a towering insectoid creature, clicked his mandibles in nervous rhythm. Even the ancient Mentari, whose civilization had weathered cosmic storms for millennia, had sealed their borders and retreated to their fortress worlds. All except one delegation remained seated as the exodus plans were discussed. Dr. Sarah Chen, the human representative, stood slowly. Her small frame seemed insignificant among the various alien dignitaries, yet something in her posture commanded attention. "The Terran Federation will not be withdrawing," she said simply. The chamber fell silent. Zexathari's light pattern shifted to confusion. "Dr. Chen, perhaps you misunderstand the severity of the situation. This plague has a 97% mortality rate across all tested species. Your people are not immune. We've confirmed human susceptibility in preliminary studies." "We understand perfectly," Chen replied, her voice steady. "That's exactly why we're staying." Admiral Thok of the Vorthak leaned forward, his compound eyes glittering. "Your species has existed in galactic society for less than 2 centuries. You lack the advanced biotechnology of the Tekaran, the quantum medicine of the Mentari, or the crystalline immunity chambers of the ethereal collective. What could humans possibly offer that our combined civilizations cannot?" Chen's lips curved into what her species called a smile, an expression that had puzzled alien psychologists for decades. "Something you've apparently forgotten in all your millennia of advancement. We know how to be stubborn in the face of impossible odds." Within 48 hours, human medical ships were deploying to the quarantine zones, while every other species retreated beyond the galactic safety perimeter. The USS Nightingale, a converted heavy cruiser packed with medical equipment and research laboratories, was among the first to reach the infected Kepler 442 system. Dr. Marcus Webb, the mission's chief medical officer, had seen combat zones before, but nothing prepared him for the devastation they found. Entire colonies lay in ruins, their populations decimated, the few survivors huddled in makeshift shelters too weak to flee even if they'd had the means. "Sir," called Lieutenant Yamamoto from the communication station, "we're receiving distress signals from 14 different settlements. Some of them they're not human settlements." Webb nodded grimly. The fleeing alien populations had left behind those too sick to travel, too poor to afford passage, or too loyal to abandon their posts. "Plot a course to the nearest signal. We're not leaving anyone behind." The work was grueling and dangerous. Every day more crew members fell ill despite their protective measures. Yet for every human who succumbed to the plague, 2 more volunteers arrived from Earth and the colonies. They came not as conquerors or saviors seeking glory, but as doctors, nurses, engineers, and researchers driven by something the other species had perhaps lost in their advanced civilizations: the stubborn refusal to abandon the helpless. "Doctor, Kenji Tanaka made the breakthrough on day 43, not in a sterile laboratory aboard a research vessel, but in a field hospital on the plague-ravaged moon of Titan's Grace. He was treating a young Zephyrian child, a species that had supposedly evacuated completely, when he noticed something odd about the pathogen's behavior in the presence of human antibodies. It's not trying to kill us, he realized, his exhausted mind suddenly racing. It's trying to adapt to us, but our immune systems are too chaotic, too unpredictable. The human immune system, shaped by millennia of evolution on a world that had thrown every conceivable biological challenge at humanity, was indeed unique in the galaxy. Most species had evolved in more stable environments, developing elegant but specialized immune responses. Humans had evolved a brute force approach, messy, redundant, and seemingly inefficient, but remarkably adaptable. Dr. Chen's team worked around the clock, not to create a cure, but to weaponize humanity's own biological chaos. They synthesized human immune factors, created hybrid treatments that confused the pathogen's adaptation mechanisms, and most crucially, used human volunteers as living laboratories to map the plague's responses. The cost was heavy. Of the initial 10,000 human volunteers who entered the plague zones, fewer than 3,000 survived. But their sacrifice yielded something unprecedented, a treatment protocol that didn't just cure the plague, but taught other species' immune systems to fight with the same chaotic adaptability that made humans so resilient. When the Galactic Council reconvened 6 months later, it was Dr. Chen who delivered the final report. The plague had been contained, the affected systems were being rebuilt, and the galaxy had learned something valuable about the species they had once considered primitive newcomers. "We lost many good people," Chen concluded, her voice heavy, with grief, but firm with conviction. "But we gained something more valuable, the knowledge that sometimes the most advanced solution isn't the most elegant one. Sometimes you need someone stubborn enough to stand in the path of impossible odds and refuse to move." Ambassador Zexathari's crystalline form pulsed with what humans had learned to recognize as deep respect. "The Galactic Council formally recognizes humanity's service to all civilized worlds. Your species has proven that technological advancement alone does not determine a civilization's worth." As the delegates filed out to return to their worlds saved by human sacrifice, Dr. Chen remained behind, reviewing casualty reports and planning memorials. Admiral Thok approached her, his massive form casting a shadow over her desk. "Dr. Chen," he said, his voice unusually soft for his species, "my people have a saying, the mightiest fortress falls when its defenders lose heart. We had built mighty fortresses of technology and knowledge, but when faced with the impossible, we lost heart and fled. Your people, you built no fortresses. You simply refused to retreat." Chen looked up at him, exhaustion evident in her features. "Admiral, my species learned long ago that sometimes the only way forward is through. We didn't stay because we were brave. We stayed because leaving was unthinkable." The plague was over, but its lessons would echo through galactic history. In the end, it wasn't superior technology or ancient wisdom that saved the galaxy. It was the stubborn, chaotic, beautiful refusal of one young species to accept that some problems were simply too big to solve. Humanity had once again proven that evolution's greatest gift wasn't elegance or efficiency, but the sheer bloody-minded determination to keep fighting when all logic said to run.